Hello and welcome back to another episode of your favorite podcast, your new favorite podcast, the Service Hero Toolbox, brought to you by the one and only CFESA. I'm here again today with our president, Mr. Nick Cribb. Nick, how you doing, man?
Man, walking in victory, better than I deserve.
Oh, I love it. Your answers are always the best answers. Whenever you say, "Hey, how are you?" Man, it's not just "I'm good, what's up?" There's always something behind it, man. I love it. All right, so today we got a little bit of a special episode. We don't have a guest today, and that's intentional, right? We this is on the heels of our latest board meeting, as the board of directors just met, and in the effort of transparency, this is something that we wanted to put out to our members of the association and those who are even considering becoming members, just to kind of give a high level picture of what it is that we're working on as a board. So that being said, for this one, I'm going to turn it over to you, Mr. President, to kind of kick us off and take us down the list on a couple of things that we might want to cascade across the organization.
Yeah, absolutely. So appreciate everybody tuning in. I know we'll probably have a lot of CFESA members, and in an effort, as Josh said, to be the most honest, open, transparent parent versions of ourselves, we just want to give you a download of the high level things we're working on as a board, and as an association at large, really. Not long ago, Nathan Miller brought forward this idea of an advisory council that wasn't an original thought, but it was one that now was the time that it could actually land well. We were able to put that together, and basically the mission for that advisory council is simply to just mine for opportunities for CFESA to pursue excellence from other food service professionals' perspectives. So like we oftentimes we put our CFESA hat on and we're thinking about being really, really good at fixing fryers and freezers, right? And running really, really good service companies, because that's what we got to do to be great. That's what great looks like for us. But there may be opportunities or counsel that we need from people who sit in other seats within this great food service industry. So we put together what we feel like is a very, very high level, solid, um, diverse group of people that we could get together and we could just almost in a version of a think tank, Zolin, just to get together and say, hey, let's popcorn off some ideas. What are you seeing? George Robert Smith, who represents MCFT out of Europe. They're in, I think, 9 different countries over there. So they've got a very unique global perspective on service. We've got Mark Freeman, who's the director of food and hospitality at LinkedIn. He was with Microsoft before that, and he's got one of the most impressive resumes that you've ever seen. Basically, his job is to figure out a way to grow food to feed people so that their brains are the best versions of themselves for the product that needs to be created within that particular industry. So think about Microsoft. They want to know, okay, if you're going to grow a tomato, how long before I can get that tomato at the perfect time so that when my employee eats it, their brain power is exactly where I need it to be. It's a really interesting perspective to have, right? I mean, the dude's a genius. Then we've got Peter Cryan, kind of an industry icon. He was with Inspire Brands for years. He's the probably the loudest voice in the industry in regards to connected kitchens, and even the robotics piece of the kitchen as that's coming. Very innovative, very outside of the box thinker in general. All kind of hinged on an end user. His whole perspective has always come from how do I get the most I can out of this kitchen that I have so that I can get a very consistent product to my customer. And the operators, speak to him a lot for that. We had Joe Carbonar, who everybody knows and loves, who knows a whole lot about a bunch of different parts of the industry over at FENS Magazine. Always able to invite incredible insight from a bunch of different areas. Charlie Serrata, a good friend over at NAFM. He can speak from a lobbyist perspective, from a governance perspective. He's also got these manufacturers that are feeding him their high level issues that they're dealing with, so he can bring those perspectives forward. And then, of course, we have Mr. Nathan Miller representing us from our CFESA board sitting on there as well. So we feel like getting all those people together and mining for opportunities would be fruitful. And the first session happened in Chicago, and it was fantastic. One of the things that we tried to do was to have a good use of everybody's time. So I was hyper diligent about making sure we didn't go over, I believe it was an hour. And that was the only thing I kind of took the task on, was like, Nick, we need more time. So if there was anything we could have heard that says, hey, this was a successful, good use of my time from these people, it was, hey, we need more time the next time that we meet. So we're going to get together again at NRA. We got a boardroom that we're going to meet at up there for 4 hours, and we're going to try to more deeply dive into some of these issues that they brought forward.
That's fantastic, and I mean, what a testament, to the association and the organizations within, to glean these other perspectives. I think, to your point, it's going to be incredibly valuable, and honestly, some of the bridges that I personally have seen missing in the industry, so it's very, very exciting. So awesome way to knock it out of the park with the very first topic. Geez, man. So the next thing that we talked about, and Nick, we can expand on this a little bit, was our newfound marketing focus within CFESA. I mean, anybody who's followed me and what I've said for a long time, I've said that not the association but the entire industry has a marketing problem, right? We talk about the skills gap. We talk about trying to get people into this industry, what this industry can do for them, right? But typically in the past, we haven't really succeeded as a whole, as an industry, telling that story and painting that picture, and cascading it for the masses to be able to see. So it was fantastic to be able to see the entire board come together and say, let's be the pinnacle. Let's take this and let's run with it and put a lot of our efforts and resources into marketing this industry, not only for the association and for the members, but all of the companies out there that aren't even yet members. So, a couple of things. I don't know if there's some specifics you want to touch on with the marketing efforts, Nick.
No, I'd like to empower you. I know that we leaned into you and Jeremy to kind of tag team it. So just share with the viewers what you got cooking.
Yeah, so me and Jeremy Allen, we both sit on different committees, right? I sit on the YPC committee, he sits on the marketing committee, and both of those committees are heavily involved in the marketing aspect. So one of the things that we're doing is building more of a bridge between those two to open up the lines of communication. I'm going to be sitting on the marketing committee. He's going to be sitting on the YPC committee, both with me and I with him, respectively. To be able to bounce those ideas back and forth and really try to gain some traction, bring some of these ideas down to the ground, and work with our good friend Charlie, who's behind the scenes right now, producing this podcast. Thank you, Charlie. To be able to cascade some of this stuff and bring new perspectives and ideas to the table on how we can do that, and in an effort to become more intentional, right? One of the conversations revolved around getting a brand packet out there and actually putting down on paper what it is that we stand for from a marketing perspective, who we want to target, what we want to hit, what message we want to get across, what our objectives are, and exactly how we're going to do that and by what ways and through what avenues. So a lot of good stuff on the marketing side of things, and I think it's going to be a very valuable focus for us moving forward as a board.
Yeah, I agree. And another thing I'll say with that is, with sheesh, man, when the pandemic happened, and then, we've always had a labor issue, and then coming out of the pandemic, and then just like there's just been this extraordinary amount of change over the past, 3 years that I feel like we've been kind of getting whipped around like the tail of, okay, what do we tell our membership? Like, what's the new breaking news of the day? And that's kind of been our marketing style, at least as a board, I can admit, is what do we need to tell them we're working on so that they know we're doing everything we can, everything's going to be okay. We're kind of going to get back to the fundamentals of it. Marketing 101 is you have a product or service and you're taking it to market. You're taking it to a group of people. Who are those group of people? What is it that you're offering them? Because I think there's some confusion on what is CFESA, what does CFESA do for me, and people are kind of filling in those blanks on their own, and some of them are right, and some of them are a little bit off. And we want to provide complete clarity as to what it is we bring to the marketplace at CFESA, how it can be of value to you, whether you're a member or a non-member or an affiliate member. And then from there, you can kind of lean into how to monetize that or to glean value from it as you spend time and money in doing it.
Yeah, fantastic. So next up on the list, we've got strengthening member relationships and communication. So you want to speak a little on that, Nick?
Yeah. So whenever I was at NAFM, I was asked to sit on a panel with the other elected or appointed industry leaders of the 5 families. So the 5 families, you've got NAFM, you've got FEDA, you've got MOFSI, you've got FCSI, and you've got CFESA. And all of those people have somebody like me that represents them at the highest level. And a good friend of mine, John Schwint, called a meeting with me at NAFM, and he says, "Hey, Nick, I don't feel like that there's bad relationships or there's lack of trust so much. I just feel like there's an absence of transparency, an absence of relationship and connection right now at the highest level. And I think you need to do everything you can to be bullish about connecting those." So I raised my hand at the board meeting and said, "Hey, I think this is something that you guys can put me to task on. I will run point with a follow-up email with the leaders of those other 4 families, right? And say, hey, here's our main objectives and the key things we're chasing at CFESA. I just want you to know if there's any insight, input you can offer from your perspective. We'd love to hear it because we trust you. We want to hear from you. We're in this thing together. We're a family, right? We're 5 families. But then also, hey, what do you have going on is another intent that I want to ask. Like, what are your top things you're chasing in those 4 different sectors? And maybe there's ways that we can assist or tie into what we're doing so that we can all, a rising tide raises all ships, right? Maybe they're working on something that's exactly, or not exactly, but very similar to what we're working on, and we can partner together on that, and we could build community and relationships and maybe find a quicker way to success. So looking forward to that portion of it. Another key takeaway from that was to try to get better when we're doing podcasts, when we're doing articles, to feather stuff like this out. This is quite literally a to-do right now, right, Josh? We're saying, hey, members, thanks for electing us to your board. We're working really hard. Here's what the heck we're doing. And so we want to start feathering this stuff out to you and letting you know what we got going on for 2 reasons. Number one, you elected us to go to work. We want you to know we're working. We're passionate about this, and we volunteer our time for a reason. And the second thing is if you hear it, you might have feedback. And we're nothing without the members, right? So if you hear something during this podcast or you read something in an article, we would love for you to reach out to CFESA headquarters and say, hey, I just heard something. I've got some input, either yay or nay or great or don't say that again, whatever it is. We want to hear from you. And but you don't know if you don't know. So we're really working hard to be open and honest and transparent. And the last thing that I'll touch on is the board of director interviews. We decided that we want to do like some short little clips of who these people are on the board, right? Because sometimes all you do is you show up to some great American city and there's all these people that are running for various board seats that you may or may not even understand very well, right? You know what I mean? Like you don't know the difference between a board seat and how long it lasts versus an executive seat, and that's fine. But the reality of it is Josh Zolin is a human being, man, and he's got a beautiful wife with kids, and he's passionate about a great many things. He's not just this dude that sits on the board and flies a couple times a year to go to some board meetings. Like he is a very uniquely, intimately, wonderfully made human being. And so is Katie Green. So is Big Dan Dobler. That joker's got more cool things going on than you could ever imagine. And I think if we just take a minute, and this is coming from Zolin, by the way, not me, this is not my original thought, this is his. If we could just show you, hey, this is who Dibs is, that it would allow you to be more apt to approach them when you do see them in person, or it make you easier to connect with them in general, just with their thoughts and ideas. So I thought that was a really cool piece.
Yeah, no, thanks for that, Nick. And I think that's going to be extremely beneficial. Anybody in a leadership position, right, within their own company is probably listening to this podcast knows, that sometimes if people are left to their own assumptions and perceptions, that they can kind of go down rabbit holes, and that's not what we want, right? As an association, to your point, transparency is king, and it's very important. So everything that you just said, I think is going to be extremely beneficial, and hopefully, like you said, we get some feedback as well, good, bad, and ugly. Anything that's good, anything that's bad, anything that you can deliver to us will only make us better, because that's the type of board that we are right now.
That's right.
We'll take that and we'll get better. So. All right, great. So moving on, I'm going to skip the 33 by 33. Let's do that at the end.
Okay.
All right. So I'm going to go into digitizing some of the learning material. We don't have to spend a ton of time on this. We're just getting the ball rolling, I know, but I think it's important to let our members know and understand that this day and age is not lost on us. And we know that some of the material that has been out has been a little bit fragmented, and we're trying to bring that all into a digital platform to make it a whole lot easier to learn, to communicate, to cascade, to glean information when you need it, where you want it. So that is a huge undertaking that we're taking on right now this year and getting started. It will be, I'm sure, a multiple year project because there is a ton of information within the association, and the association provides to its members. It's just sometimes it's in different places. People don't know where to find it, how to find it, or what it can do for them. So hopefully this can really benefit our members and make it easier for them to empower those within their organization and themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. And another thing it'll do is we're gonna run point on that branding this time. It's going to be a CFESA centric type situation. We've had a lot of good history licensing the books and materials we've used in the past. I'm very grateful for that, and I honestly can see a way where that still works well into the future. But we do want to have an option where it is CFESA branded. Information that logo can begin to be trusted, whether it's a book you order or whether it's a platform you log into or a spreadsheet, or not a spreadsheet, but a PDF file that you open up, that we begin to kind of put our watermark on that stuff so that we're adding value to our association.
Absolutely. So moving on from that, one of the things, one of the exercises that you brought to the table, Nick, in this last board meeting, I thought was incredibly wonderful because it goes to show the dedication and the commitment that you have as a president and that we have as a board to making sure that we are, as an association, moving in the right direction. And that was to look at our mission statement, to look at our vision, to look at our values, and to make sure that, number one, we're in alignment with them, and number two, they're the right ones. Right. And by the right ones, it encompasses a lot, right? Is it sending the right message? Is it easy to remember and understand? Does it resonate with people, both for the board, for the members, for the non-members? There's a lot of questions that were posed at this last meeting that I think, were good challenges. And one of the things that came of that was to look at our values, and Mr. TJ was kind enough to run point on that. But if there's something else you want to talk on about that.
Yeah, I would just say that when it comes to values, right, it's got to be something that not just memorized, but internalized, right? And if you're going to internalize, sometimes less is more. And we felt that our values might be a little bit wordy, and they might need to be wordsmithed a little bit so that people can more easily internalize them. So at the end of the day, you can point to a value at CFESA and say, yes, I want to be a part of that because of that value, or no, I don't want to be a part of that because of that value. Like, that's what they're there for. They're a litmus test to see if you fit that particular culture, that association or that incorporation is saying that's who they are. So TJ raised his hand and said, hey, I think I can run point on maybe wordsmithing and coming up with a more palatable version of that would be better for the greater good of our association, and probably even more specifically in attracting people in. So we're looking forward to see what the first pitch of that's going to be. We're going to look at it fiercely as a board. It's not going to be something that we will easily just say, yeah, that sounds good. That's t-shirt material. TJ, let's go with it. We're going to troubleshoot these things and make sure that we would hire and fire companies to be a part of this company based off of those values. And I think that's an encouraging thing for you to know, is that it's not just website material, man, that like these things are very, very real. They have to be. If not, we're not a real association. And I can tell you this, every person that I sat on that board with, what they communicated to me is that it's real to them. So we want to come up with those specific values, a wordsmith version, if you will. And again, I'll say potentially, we may get through this and say, no, they need to stay exactly like they are. We're overthinking this, but but sometimes you have to kick the tires on things to make sure you are who you say you are. And more importantly, that you're pointing to something and telling people we are going where we're saying we're going. So
That's right. All right, great. That kind of brings us right to the end where we've got a new motto as a board, as the association, and I don't know that it's been cascaded quite yet, but Nick, you want to do the honors?
yeah, would love to. So a lot of times within organizations, within our personal lives, and with even our volunteer efforts like CFESA, you get so busy with the axe in your hand, chopping trees, right? You're just picking up the axe and you're chopping trees, and you're plowing through emails, and you're jumping on phone calls, and you're making decisions, and you're just powering through day by day. And it becomes very easy for you to get off track of where the heck it is you're even headed sometimes. Sometimes you'll be chopping down trees in a freaking circle because there isn't any direction. So what we all did was we laid our swords down, or our axes. Sorry, I have a tendency to use the word swords because I'm a freaking warrior. But we laid our axes down and we climbed the tree. All of us climbed the tree and says, where in 10 years from now, what would success look like? And we heard things like maybe another training facility, regional trainers, somebody like Dan on the West Coast, Dan Reese, our director of training right now. We heard things like learning management software, where people could jump online and do online curriculums and get certificates from that. More specified ways to get training. Like there was all these ideas that were popping up that Angie Petiti kind of grabbed this thread and this theme of what was going on. And she said, I think we're talking about certificates or certifications. I think we're talking about CFESA certifications of some sort. And in 10 years from now, how many certifications would be a big, hairy, audacious goal? That's a term pulled from a book written by Jim Collins called Good to Great, something that feels very almost unattainable, but something to strive for. So we asked how many certifications we had last year. We kind of passed that to Dibs and let him crunch some numbers for us because he's a financial genius and numbers genius in general. And we were able to coin the term 33,000 certifications by 2033. Now, reason why that's a good thing to chase is there's a whole lot of things that have to happen to achieve 33,000 certifications. So what is a certification? If Zolin goes to HQ and does a middle management course, he's going to get a certification of completion for that middle management course. If he sends one of his technicians on an ice machine training, they're going to get a certification for a ice machine training. The same is true for EGSW, for new tech training. There's the combi course that we offer. There's an owner's course that we teach. There's all these different things that we do, but we know there's other ways to get those certifications done, whether it be the learning management software or regionalized training and so on and so forth. And if we accomplish all these things, we feel like we can achieve 33,000 CFESA certifications handed out by the year 2033. And that's going to be something that over the upcoming years, we're going to point to and say, remember, that's where we said we wanted to be at. That's where we want to go. So do these top things we're working on this quarter align with that? With what we're trying to accomplish in 2023, does that align with where we want to be in 2033? If it doesn't, then we probably need to, we need to figure that out. We need to make sure, why are we out of alignment with this? Has something changed? But for the most part, we feel like the collective goal of hitting a metric of 33,000 CFESA certifications given out by 2033 would mean immense success in a bunch of different ways. So it's going to be our mantra. It's going to be something that we're going to be screaming from the rooftops. And we wanted you guys to understand the heart of where it came from.
33 by 33. I love
33 by 33, babe. I'm going to have a big chain on like a rapper next time you see me.
There it is. I'm going to put it in my grill. No, that's fantastic, Nick. And I gotta say, listen, before we wrap it up, I just, I've never sat on the board for CFESA before, honestly. And those who know me, or close to me, a lot of my industry contacts, they know that, I haven't been as involved in CFESA over the years, as I probably could have, as I probably should have, and I'm not going to get into all the reasons for that, but I got to say that I am encouraged and, dare I say, excited about the board that I sit with, each and every person, and the direction that we're headed. My main thing from all the people that I talked to before I ran for director was, if I run, I want to make sure that I can make a difference, that I feel like I've had a voice in the direction of the entire industry. And even after my short time serving so far, I got to say, I think that we are headed in the right direction, and I'm excited to be a part of it. So thank you for that, Mr. President, and for all of our members as well. We do this for all of you. So, Nick, any final words?
Yeah, no, I'm glad to serve alongside you. I appreciate you saying that. You're a busy guy. I think we understand. We can all deduce why it is you haven't had time to make it, but we're glad you're here now. So you're definitely making us better, brother. Quick correction. It is 33,000 certificates, not certifications. I got my vocabulary wrong there. Heather just lovingly sent me a text. So, hey, it's brand new, man. Rolling it out. You talk about being open and honest. We're still mapping this thing out. So,
there you go.
But yeah, other than that, I hope that there's a value add from this. I hope there's clarity that you have from this being a CFESA member, or just somebody who's not a member currently right now, who's just intrigued and wondering how it can add value to your company. I hope this would persuade you to give us a chance to influence you. Yeah, man, I think it was a great use of time. Went a little over more than we thought, but I feel like it was a good use of time.
Oh, absolutely. And again, I just want to reiterate, if anybody has any feedback, questions, concerns, comments, suggestions, or insults, please let us know. Okay, we are 100% open to receiving any and all feedback.